Hello, everyone. This is Keller back with Chapter 11. Final week NFL Pick'ems, Week 18, last regular season week. Due to COVID being a pain in the butt, it's just me. So, no Lupo, no Matt, but I do have their picks. So, I'm trying to go faster than usual. I tend to talk too much and babble when I'm by myself. So, another depressing week, but it's COVID. What are you going to do? So let's just get right into it. There's no Thursday night game and there's no Monday night game this week. It's just 2 games Saturday. The rest are all Sunday. So last week, I went 12-4. Lupo went 12-4. Matt 10-6. So the overalls very, very close. I am 144 wins and 101 losses. Lupo 145 wins with 100 losses, putting him in first. And Matt in third place with 142 wins and 103 losses. It is very, very close. So depending on how close we remain, we will take this as far as it can go. If it's to the point where there's just one of us is just too far out ahead and there's not enough games to obviously overtake that person, then we will obviously have our champion. But we'll go until basically the Super Bowl if it's that close of a tiebreaker. So let's get right into it. Saturday, January 8th, we have the Chiefs and the Broncos and the Cowboys and the Eagles. The Chiefs got beat by the Bengals. I took the Bengals, stuck with them the whole year so far, and very impressive win over the Chiefs. Joe Burrow is lights out. Jamar Chase also lights out, but we're talking about the Chiefs. They lost to the Bengals. I don't really want to talk about the Chiefs. Broncos, they look, they're just taking a beating ever since Teddy Bridgewater went down and they got blown out by the Chargers. Cowboys, they just look so good on paper, but sometimes they just blow wins and stuff like that, but it happens. Versus the Eagles, I'm pretty sure they plan on playing all their starters. So with all that being said, all three of us took the Chiefs first over the Broncos, and all three of us took the Cowboys over the Eagles. Pretty straightforward. So those are your 2 Saturday games. The first game for Sunday at 1 p.m., January 9th, will be my Bengals versus the Browns. Like I just talked about, the Bengals, Joe Burrow. Dude, last 2 weeks, he's been just lights out. Smoking cigars after the wins. Well-deserved. Putting up huge numbers. Also, Jamar Chase, 11 catches, 266 yards, 3 touchdowns. That's just insane for a rookie. Kid's lights out. Gonna have a great future. Joe Mixon a little bit on the quiet side, but that's just due to the fact that the Bengals passing game was insane. The Browns, Baker Mayfield, he's going to be out because he's getting surgery. Also, Nick Chubb didn't look too strong against the Steelers because they lost 14-26. We'll get to the Steelers a little bit later, a little bit to talk about them. Other than that, just getting right to the pick, all three of us took the Bengals. Obviously, I took the Bengals every week this regular season so far. And they're 10-6, so obviously I got 10 wins and 6 losses out of them, but I don't know why I kind of latched onto them this year, but they played really good football majority of the games, and I'm going to take the Bengals with them over the Browns again. So let's go, Joe Burrow. The following game will be the Packers versus the Lions. Again, this one's pretty straightforward. All of us are taking the Packers just because Aaron Rodgers, I honestly am going to say that he might be going for a Peyton Manning leave out on top type season. I really at this point think that the Packers will win the Super Bowl, and that might just be it for Aaron Rodgers. I could be way off, but who knows? I mean, he's just playing. Him and Devontae Adams are just having an incredible season like they do every year, but they just made it more vocal this year, letting everybody know that we're a great duo and we're gonna go for the Super Bowl. And ever since the very first game where Aaron Rodgers looks terrible, Since then, he's just been lights out. Guy just doesn't make many mistakes. He's been like that his whole career. His touchdown to interception ratio is like off the charts. So I'm obviously it's really clear that we're all going to take Green Bay. The Lions, on the other hand, they got blown out by a not that great Seahawks team, 51-29. Turnovers obviously killed them, but it's the Lions. They're 2-13-1. There's really no surprise there. So yeah, all of us are taking Green Bay. So the next game is a little bit of a tricky one. It's the Bears versus the Vikings. The Bears blew out the Giants 29-3, and we just spoke a little bit about the Vikings. They got blown out by the Green Bay Packers. Kirk Cousins was out on a COVID leave. He is expected to play as long as everything checks out this Sunday against the Bears. And also, there's also a chance that Justin Fields might come back as well. So you're looking at the two main quarterbacks starting this weekend, which kind of switches it up. Dalvin Cook had a quiet week last week, only 9 carries for 13 yards. But they got blown out by the Packers. The only real key player was just Justin Jefferson, as always. Not really too much to talk about. They only had 10 points. Matt took the Chicago Bears, and Lupo took the Vikings. I haven't really been a fan of either the Bears or the Vikings this year. Nobody really stands out to me. Basically, Matt didn't say the Vikings are due. So, with that being said, I think I'm going to go with Matt and take the Chicago Bears because the Vikings are apparently not due. Up next, we have Washington versus the Giants. Like we just talked about the Giants, their quarterback situation is just horrendous. Saquon Barkley finally had a decent game. I believe this is his first game this season where he actually had over 100 rushing yards. Didn't see the end zone, but they only had 3 points, so there you go. But it's good to see him hopefully get into some groove. He needs to go on a better team. That team is just killing him, literally just destroying his career. The Washington, I believe later or maybe early, I forget what it said, but apparently they plan on releasing their pictures of their new logo and their new team name. So this is way overdue. They should have figured this out. I mean, how hard is it to pick a name? Designing a jersey or a uniform, I should say, okay, fine, but you should have picked a name or something by now. You're just literally the Washington football team or the Washington No Names. But whatever, we're not talking about that. Let's Tyler Heineke. He played an alright game against the Eagles. Didn't throw any touchdowns. He did throw a pick though, but there's just been spans where he just plays good, and there's spans where he just plays decent. This last few weeks, I would say he kind of slowed down from his little hot streak. But even with that being said, the Giants are just so much worse. They don't know who their quarterback is. Saquon has been battling injuries. He's finally had a good game, but it doesn't matter at this point in the season, and they really just have no wide receivers or anything that can get open or help their cause at all. So obviously, all three of us are taking the Washington No Names. So the Colts last week, in my opinion, surprisingly lost to the Raiders. I mean, they were on a hot streak. Jonathan Taylor has been going off. He still went off 20 carries, 108 yards, and 1 touchdown. Even Carson Wentz, who wasn't sure if he was going to suit up for that game, he ended up playing, and unfortunately they lost, which killed me, and honestly would have tied me with Lupo if that went the other way, because I would have had the win, and he would have had the loss. So that game really saved him there. The Jaguars got completely destroyed by the Patriots, which is not a surprise that they got destroyed, but they put a 50 burger on you, so a little bit overkill, but it is what it is. Even with the Colts kind of, I don't know, blowing out their little hot streak against the Raiders. I mean, I rather would have seen them blow their little hot streak against a better team. I think you should have still beaten the Raiders, but it is what it is. But even with that being said, we're all three of us again are taking the Colts. Most of these picks are going to be straightforward. There's just a very dominant team, in our opinions, clearly. So sorry that there's no upsets yet. I mean, we're all trying to be careful who we pick because obviously we all want to win, and we're getting less and less into the year, and we have less games. So really got to be careful if you're going for an upset. That's why most of us are kind of sticking with the better team, on paper at least. So sorry. This was the game I've been kind of wanting to talk about. Just nothing insanely crazy, but just a quick note that it seems like Ben Roethlisberger is finally going to hang it up after their win against the Browns. You know, a little bit of an interview after the game, very emotional, and just some of his words kind of just basically, hey, like, you know, it was good to get a victory on my last game home and during a regular season. So, I mean, that's pretty straightforward if you ask me. But you know, Ben Roethlisberger has been with the Steelers forever. He's a great quarterback, but clearly this year he's been, you know, he's had some of his flashback old golden day games, but for most of the season he's just been struggling to produce. You know, for even though he got a win, you know, he got carried by literally Najee Harris with 188 yards, literally Derrick Henry stiff-arming people, but he only had 123 yards on 46 attempts, so clearly struggling. But, you know, just want to throw out big old Ben. The Ravens, again, going back to they can't score past 20 points. Even with Lamar Jackson, who didn't practice today, still with a banged up ankle. Even whether Lamar Jackson ends up suiting up or not, all three of us took the Ravens just because, like I said, Ben Roethlisberger's like just really been struggling, and the only way they pull off a win is two things: if Harris goes off for another almost 200 rushing yard game, or you got TJ Watt living in the backfield, who I believe is a 1.5 sacks from breaking the record. So this could be the game. It's an extra week, so it doesn't really count. But then again, I believe he mistimed earlier this season, so technically, if he does, depending on how much time he lost, if he does break this record, you know, in the amount of weeks that he did play, then obviously you can count it. But we'll see. It should be a very interesting game, especially if it's the end for Ben Roethlisberger. I really just don't understand that the Tennessee Titans, they blew out Miami. Miami was on a great streak, and then I don't know what happened, but they only had 3 points. And the Texans, they lost to the 49ers, which is no surprise. Their one keynote, as always, Brandon Cooks. That's all. But the Titans, they lost Derrick Henry, and they've been like having spurts where their next running back is just going off, blowing out with so many yards, and then the week after that it's nothing, goose egg, blah blah blah. I don't know. They need to get rid of Ryan Tannehill, I think. And I think that team would be a lot better. He's just not a good quarterback in my opinion, but they just managed to win still, even without Derrick Henry. They still managed to put up numbers, and they're 11-5, and you know, Derrick Henry's been gone for weeks now, and they still been getting wins, so you know, kudos to them. At the end of the day, though, they're still playing against the Texans, who were 4-12, who basically might as well call them the Houston Brandon Cooks, because he's the only one who really does anything. So clearly, we're all going with the Tennessee Titans. Up next, we have the Saints versus the Falcons. Not your flashy game of the day that you would probably want to sit there and watch, but for those of you who do end up watching it, The Saints got a little 1-2 punch with your quarterback Taysom Hill and your running back Alvin Kamara. Believe it or not, Taysom Hill had more rushing yards than Alvin Kamara. That's sad, but the Saints just completely fell apart once Drew Brees left, so it is what it is. The Falcons, same thing. They're just so hit and miss. Cordell Patterson definitely slowed down tremendously over the last few weeks. They're probably really hurting with Calvin Ridley being basically gone for the whole season. Not that he really did anything in the first few weeks that he did play, but clearly something was going on, and he hasn't returned yet, so hopefully we see him next season. Kyle Pitts, the rookie tight end, leading with 69 yards, but only 2 catches and not a really crazy game for the Falcons. It's actually a really hard one to call because both teams are the Falcons more than anything are just so hot and cold. But all three of us took the Saints. I'm just going to go with the 1-2 punch with Taysom Hill, and hopefully Alvin Kamara can get a little bit of a groove going. He did better receiving than he did rushing. So, I mean, he also played a Carolina Panthers team, but who knows what happens. By the way, this is the first 4 p.m. game, and let's go Saints. Now, I'm not going to lie. At the beginning of this season, I was a little bit of a fan of the Jets, Zach Wilson, blah, blah, blah. He clearly pissed me off to extreme, to the point where I talk so much trash about the Jets. In the last few weeks that he's been back after COVID or injuries or whatever the case may be, I'm not gonna lie, man. The kid definitely stepped it up. He's not having like any crazy like blowout games, but he's protecting the ball. No picks. He went from like throwing like 4 picks a game to he's cleaning the ball up, and because of that, the Jets only lost by 4 to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So that's saying something, whether you like the guy or not. They at the end of the day, they're 4-12, so they stink. The Bills. Josh Allen did not throw any touchdowns. He threw 3 interceptions, and they still won 29-15. So that's wild. We've seen a couple of games where like the quarterback just completely crapped the bed, but they still get a win, or half the team's gone because of COVID and they still get a win. So anything's possible this season, but all three of us still took the Buffalo Bills over the Jets. Up next, we have the 49ers versus the Rams. Looks like for the Rams, Odell, he's kind of like finally found like his little mini home. Like, obviously his best years were with the Giants. Went to the Browns, injuries, drama with Baker. But I think he has a touchdown the last 3 or 4 weeks. Definitely kind of getting a groove with Matthew Stafford, and Robert Woods is probably helping him out a little bit. Nothing crazy in yards, but he definitely has, getting the touchdown. He's putting points on the board, and that, that's going to win you the game. The 49ers, Debo obviously doing this thing. They play the Texans, who are not too anything crazy. But however, Trey Lance was the starter that day. Not a bad game. 16 for 23, 249 yards, 2 touchdowns. Did throw a pick though, but he went out there, he started, he did his thing, and they got the win. 23-7. A win is a win. Elijah Mitchell also had 119 yards rushing, so that obviously helped. George Kittle seems to be a little bit quiet down, but you got a different quarterback out there now. He's got to see who he who he can build a connection with, and usually rookie quarterbacks usually favor their safety blanket, which is the tight end. But George Kittle only had 1 catch for 29 yards, so clearly that wasn't a thing this game. But believe it or not, we actually have all three of us did not pick the same team. So me and Matt went with the Rams, and Lupo stuck with his boy Depot and took the 49ers. I'm not really going to get too crazy on this one. This is just pretty straightforward. The Patriots blew out the Jags, and the Dolphins got blown out. So clearly all three of us are not going to go against Bill Belichick. We're all going to take the Patriots. Mac Jones, 3 touchdowns. That rushing combination, they had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different rushers with a total of 181 yards and 4 touchdowns. They put up a 50 burger. That's insane. You know, you got Ramondre Stevenson and Damian Harris with 2 touchdowns apiece. You know, and your quarterback's throwing 3 touchdowns. That's a lot of points. And clearly the Dolphins streak has ended with only putting up 3 points. So I don't know what happened there, but we're definitely not going to go against Bill Belichick. We're going to stick with the Patriots. We're going to stick with Mac Jones. They're getting a dub. Finally, the Cardinals sneak out of there with a win against the Cowboys, 25-22. They were playing the Seattle Seahawks, who put another 50 burger last week, I should say, against the Detroit Lions. Russell Wilson just went off 20 for 29, 236 yards, but 4 touchdowns, though. Rashad Penny, 170 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns. DK Metcalf finally, looking like himself, I guess. I don't really know how to, call it right now, but the Seahawks in general, I shouldn't even single him out too much, but because the whole team has just stunk. They're 6-10. I can't even remember the last time the Seahawks played this poorly, but things change as the years go on. I like Russell Wilson. I talked about him earlier in the beginning of the season, saying that he doesn't make a lot of mistakes. He's smart. He does his thing, and for the most part, he does that. He's never been a huge guy who puts up a ton of yards and stuff. He's just a smart guy. Gets you, quiet, gets you to win, in my opinion, at least. DK being quite a little bit of a baby this season. Just, I guess, it frustrates people when you're losing. I get it, but in my opinion, he should be having 2 to 3 touchdowns maybe every game. You're just a freak of nature, dude. You're huge. People are comparing you to Megatron. Then act like it and show it, but it is what it is. It's hard to, really pick this, the Cardinals, just because they crapped the bed a few times against, teams that are, really not good. And I'm not saying, the Seahawks are going to put up, a crap ton of points like they did against the Lions, but the Cardinals have blown easy wins, in my opinion, and they've had, I get it, injuries and this and that, but the one game I think they beat the 49ers where half their squad was on COVID leave. So I don't know. It's just been a crazy year for calling games, just because there's so many hot and cold players and teams and whatever. But all three of us took the Cardinals. So I'm pretty sure speaking for Matt and Lupo and myself, that clearly we have no faith in the Seahawks. The only reason they put up 51 points is because they played against the worst team in the league. So let's go Cardinals. Your primetime game will be not that flashy because it's the Panthers versus the Bucks. So it looks like the Panthers finally kind of, not fully, but kind of went away from Cam Newton. They're back to Sam Darnold being the starting quarterback. Obviously, that did not matter. They only put up 10 points. And, not having Christian McCaffrey is definitely hurting them big time. But they ran him into the ground. So, he needs help there. They need another wide receiver, running back, quarterback. They need everything. But clearly, with all that being said, I'm not even going to get too much in the Bucks. The Bucks are the Bucks, with Tom Brady, Gronk, and all them. Tom Brady and friends, we'll say. All of us took the Bucks. Tom Brady is the oldest quarterback in the league, and he is just destroying a lot of these younger guys in touchdowns, yards, wins, whatever you want to call it. He's just found the fountain of youth. Apparently, he's playing lights out, and you think by now at this age he would just drop off. Now he is just going bananas. He's just got so many weapons. The one thing, obviously, I'm not going to get too much into the weapons because you guys all have heard this all year. The one thing I just want to note is Antonio Brown had a complete meltdown. I believe in the third quarter of this game, where apparently he was saying that he was hurt. He hurt like his foot or ankle or whatever, and the medical staff basically cleared him. Said, "You're fine. I don't understand why you're saying you're in pain. There's nothing wrong with you." They told him to go into the game. He said no. I guess whatever. He got mad, took his pads and helmet off, and threw his shirt into the stands, and basically ran out of there. And I don't understand what that was all about. If I could get it, if you're hurt, you're hurt, and you can't play because you don't want to hurt the team. That's fine, because it was a close game. Tom Brady had a winning drive for them, but like there's better ways to handle it. And in my opinion, the dude's just, I don't know, he's just a clown to me. I think I wouldn't be as upset if he actually wasn't like a big name like he is. Steeler days, he was like Antonio Brown. Like especially like if you were playing fantasy football and you had the guy had you were playing against had Antonio Brown, you were like, uh-oh. But now it's just like, what are you doing, dude? But whatever. I'm not gonna waste my breath on the guy any more than I already have. So all three of us are taking the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in your primetime game. Your 8 o'clock final game for Week 18, the last regular season game of this year, or this season, is the Chargers versus the Raiders. Now, the Chargers blew out the Broncos. We talked about that a little bit earlier on the Broncos side. Obviously, they got blown out. And we talked about the Raiders a little bit, how they snuck out a win against the Colts. Derek Carr, 2 picks. You turn the ball over and you still got a win. That's impressive. Zay Jones, where'd he come from? 8 catches, 120 yards. Hunter Renfrow, with Darren Waller definitely not being there, there hurts them clearly, because he's, in my opinion, one of the best tight ends in the league right now. But Hunter Renfrow's definitely stepped up. He's still been, the catch yards guy, but now he's finally starting to see the end zone. He's gotten a few picks here and there since Darren Waller's been out. Good to see Deshaun Jackson keeping the trend going with 1 catch. Only had 5 yards. Guy's washed up. He needs to just stop bouncing from team to team and just hang it up, in my opinion. The Chargers, Justin Herbert, 2 sophomore players. I just want to throw Joe Burrow back in there real fast. 2 sophomore players, Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow, just having an incredible second year. I feel like the Chargers honestly should have had a little bit better record of what they have. They're 9-7. I think they should have had maybe another like 2 wins. They just look really good. At least offensively, they can put up so much numbers. They have good quarterback, good rushers, running backs, I should say, and good wide receivers, decent defense. They got the weapons. I think they just shoot themselves in the foot. And again, that's been a trend this year. But for the final game of Week 18, all 3 of us again took the Chargers. So I know it's kind of boring. All of us took the same. Well, most of us took the same team, but we're trying to win here too. It's a game for us. It's not like we're trying to be boring, but I want to win. I'm competitive. What do you want from me? But sorry again for it's just being me. But COVID is a B word, and there's really nothing we can do about it. We got to keep each other safe. That's what it's all about. So that is Week 18 NFL Pick'ems for Chapter 11. This is the week finale, or regular season finale for us, basically. But we will definitely see you in the wild card and the playoffs and everything. And like I said, we will keep this going as long as it's close. But until we get a definite winner, we will see you next time. So this is, well, I will see you next time if this COVID thing continues. But I'm Keller, and this is Chapter 11, and I will see you next week. Peace.